Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today on this video, I wanted to do a little Q&A. I'm going to answer a question from a viewer. This viewer is James. I've seen him on this channel, quite a bit. So thank you for being a return viewer, James. And thanks for all the well wishes, with our family and all that. But James asked, what do you consider shallow? And this, by the way, this is actually a question that he posted on my these are three big mistakes anglers make in September. He asks, what do you consider shallow? I fished a tournament yesterday on Lake Chickamauga, and pulled 3 out of 25 to 30 feet. That's pretty legit. That's pretty deep for this time of year. But I mean, not unheard of for sure. I got 2 dinks in 10 foot. I only caught 7 fish all day. It was a grinder for sure. Man, that's actually not a terrible day for September, even on Lake Chickamauga. Lake Chickamauga is amazing, but it's still a grind. I mean, September's always a killer. But as far as like the main question, which is what do you consider shallow? Really, that is you've got a sliding scale on what shallow means in different lakes. Every single lake and really every time of year is different. I would definitely consider 25 to 30 feet deep pretty deep, especially for Lake Chickamauga this time of year. I've caught fish on Chick deeper than 30 feet for sure. I've caught them down to like 40 foot at times, but there's not a lot of like that depth, spots in that type of depth. But as far as what I consider shallow, when I'm talking about September, is anything that is shallower than like, 10 or 12 feet. Like this weekend, I went out and fished the Chick tournament with my buddy Keith, and we were primarily catching our fish in 12 foot of water. Now, those were still deep water fish. They were relating to the deepest area or deepest part of the area we were fishing. Just kind of what I call the trench fish. They're just kind of related to the bait fish that are moving into the backs of the creeks. But very soon here, and in fact, we may be already there, in the next week or two. What I mean by shallow is I'm talking like 2 foot of water or less. They weren't quite there yet this last week, but during September, as I mentioned in the last couple of videos I've done about the month of September, these fish are moving into the backs of the creeks following the shad. And right now, what I've seen the first week of September here is that the shad are really still funneling from the main lake to like the first third of most of the creeks. That's the activity that I saw. I fished all the way in the backs of the creeks, and they're just not there yet. But they're making their way there. So what I'm seeing is like the main lake to the first third of a creek. That's kind of where the fish are hanging right now. But once you get into that time period where the shad make it all the way into the backs of the creeks on those shallow flats, where you've got the little feeder creeks that run into the bigger creek overall. You're talking about like fish in, like last year I was fishing Watts Bar and I was catching my good limits out of places that were like 2 foot or less. So that's what I mean by shallow water, but it's all relative, throughout this time of year as those fish transition shallower. So right now, shallow could be considered 12 foot or less. In a week or two, it could be 5 foot or less. And then by the end of September, going into October, it could be 2 foot or less is where I like to focus my efforts. Now, that all being said, as you pointed out, saying that you caught, you had more success in 25 to 30 feet of water than you did in 10 foot of water, there's going to be fish all throughout the system. Not all fish are going to be following those primary schools of shad into the backs of the creeks. There's still going to be plenty of fish on the main lake that are more gizzard shad oriented, or following the bait fish that primarily just hang around the grass on the main lake, things like that. So this is just a general rule of thumb for me when I'm fishing during the fall, especially that fall shad migration, is that I like to fish shallow. But it's all relative. If you go out there and you're having success in 20 to 30 feet of water this time of year, definitely don't change anything. Go have a blast until those fish are gone. But for me, if I'm just showing up to a lake for the first time in a while, like I did this week, and I'm looking for to get some bites, a lot of times I'm definitely going to be in those creeks, and I might start all the way in the back and then work my way out. And that generally seems to be kind of the best approach, is to start real shallow in those feeder creeks and then work your way out. And you'll intercept the shad at some point, at which time you'll intercept the bass. So anyways, James, thank you for the question and the comment, and thank you for being a viewer. Otherwise, I'm going to see you guys out on the water. Make sure that if you have any questions, drop a comment below, just like James did, and make sure you trust the process. See you guys.